The forest of Kale Thor burned with amber twilight as Lyra stumbled through the undergrowth, her survival suit torn and her translator flickering against her collarbone. 3 days since the crash. 3 days since her survey ship had been torn apart by gravitational anomalies she still didn't understand. The distress beacon was active, but rescue could take weeks in this sector. She heard the sound before she saw anything. A high, keening whine that made her chest tighten. Not mechanical, biological. Afraid. Lyra pushed through a wall of violet ferns and froze. The creature was small, no larger than a terrier, covered in silver blue fur matted with something dark and wet. Blood. Its 6 legs were splayed at wrong angles, and its triple-jointed spine curved unnaturally against the mossy ground. But it was the eyes that stopped her heart. Large, luminous gold, filled with an intelligence that recognized its own mortality. The cub, because that's what it had to be, whimpered again, and Lyra's training screamed at her to back away. Unknown alien fauna. Potentially dangerous. Possible disease vectors. But her humanity whispered something older, something that transcended protocol. She knelt slowly, hands visible, making soft sounds in her throat. The universal language of comfort that mothers had used since Earth's caves. The cub's breathing was labored, each exhale rattling with fluid. Internal injuries. Catastrophic ones. Lyra had seen enough field medicine to know this small being was dying. "Hey, little one," she murmured, her translator attempting to render her words into something. Anything comprehensible. "I'm here. You're not alone." The cub's eyes found hers, and something passed between them. Recognition. Gratitude. "Please." Lyra inched forward, and the cub didn't pull away. She placed one hand gently on its heaving side, feeling the frantic pulse of 2 hearts beneath silver fur. With her other hand, she activated her medical kit, knowing even as she did that the xenobiology was too foreign, the damage too severe. The scanner confirmed what she already knew. Minutes. Maybe less. "I'm sorry," Lyra whispered, tears blurring her vision. "I'm so sorry I can't fix this." The cub made a soft chirping sound, almost like forgiveness, and Lyra felt something break inside her chest. She'd been alone for days, surrounded by an alien world that wanted her dead, and here was this small, dying creature offering her companionship in its final moments. She didn't think. She simply acted. Lyra leaned down and pressed her lips to the cub's forehead, that space between its eyes where the fur was softest, and let her tears fall on his silver blue. A kiss. The most human gesture of love and farewell she knew. "You were brave," she said against its fur. "You were so brave." The cub's breathing hitched once, twice, and then stilled. Lyra held it as the light faded from those golden eyes, rocking slowly, humming a lullaby her own mother had sung. She didn't know how long she stayed like that. Time felt suspended in grief. The growl came from everywhere at once. Lyra's head snapped up. The forest around her was no longer empty. Shapes moved through the twilight, large shapes, each easily 3 meters tall, moving on 6 powerful legs. The same silver-blue fur, but darker, shot through with patterns like tiger stripes. And the eyes, those same golden eyes, now narrowed and fixed on her, the pack. The cub's family, the largest of them, a massive creature with scars crossing its muzzle and a crest of darker fur along its spine, stepped into the clearing. In its forelimbs, which Lyra now realized were as dexterous as hands, it held a spear of carved bone and twisted metal. An alpha, a hunter. Lyra remained kneeling, cradling the small body, her heart hammering but her hands steady. If this was how she died, so be it. She wouldn't dishonor the cub's memory by treating it like refuse. The alpha's lips pulled back, revealing rows of serrated teeth. The other pack members, 10, 15, she'd lost count, began to circle, their spears lowering toward her. The translator crackled, attempting to parse the rumbling vocalizations. "Human. Killed. Young." "No," Lyra said clearly, firmly, meeting the alpha's gaze. "I found them dying. I stayed, so they wouldn't be alone." The translator sputtered through the translation. The alpha's eyes narrowed further, and for a moment, Lyra was certain she would feel that spear pierce her chest. But then the alpha's gaze dropped to the cub in her arms, to the way she held it, to the tear tracks on her face and the gentleness of her grip. The creature, the person, Lyra corrected herself, took another step forward. Lyra didn't flinch. The alpha knelt slowly, mirroring her posture, and reached out one massive forelimb. Lyra understood. Carefully, reverently, she placed the small body into those waiting arms. The alpha cradled the cub against its chest, and a sound emerged from its throat, a keening cry that was echoed by every member of the pack. Grief, universal and unmistakable. Then the alpha looked at Lyra again, and this time there was something different in those golden eyes. The translator crackled once more. You mourned. You honored. They deserved honor, Lyra replied, her voice breaking. They were someone's child. The alpha was silent for a long moment. Then, deliberately, it raised its spear and drove the point into the earth. The sound echoed through the clearing. One by one, every other pack member did the same, lowering their weapons and embedding them in the soil, the universal gesture of respect, of peace. The alpha stood, still cradling the small body, and vocalized something complex. The translator struggled, then offered, Human, Lyra, you walk with honor scent. You carry death with dignity. This is known. This is remembered. Another pack member approached, smaller, with a coat like starlight, and extended something toward Lyra. A carved pendant of bone and crystal, still warm from body heat. Safe walk token, the translator supplied. Pack protection. You are witnessed. Lyra accepted it with trembling hands, pressing it to her heart. Thank you, she whispered. I'm so sorry for your loss. The alpha inclined its head, a gesture that needed no translation, and turned away. The pack followed, melting back into the forest with their fallen young, leaving Lyra alone once more, but not the same kind of alone as before. She remained kneeling in that clearing as darkness fell, the pendant warm against her palm, and understood something her species had always known but often forgot. Humanity wasn't about being human. It was about recognizing life, honoring death, and offering comfort in the space between. When the rescue ship finally found her 4 days later, the survey team was shocked to discover a path cleared through the forest to her location and offerings of food and water placed at regular intervals. The xenobiologists cataloged everything with scientific fascination, but Lyra never told them about the kiss. About the moment she'd chosen compassion over protocol and found that the universe, in its vast and terrible way, had chosen compassion in return. She kept the pendant for the rest of her life. And whenever asked about the scars on her hands and the strange markings the pack had gently painted on her arms before she left, markings that meant honored witness in a language humanity was only beginning to understand, she would simply smile and say, I learned that love doesn't need a common language, and that sometimes the most human thing you can do is remember that nothing in this universe should die alone. The report she filed changed first contact protocols across the entire Federation. But that came later. In that moment, in that clearing, with twilight falling and a small life honored, Lyra had simply done what humans did best. She had cared when caring seemed impossible, and loved when love transcended species. And the universe, watching, had lowered its spears.